Okay, so now you know, thanks to John Miller and to Donna Kahn, or maybe you already did know. But there's an even deeper history to Chindan that John Miller just kind of touched on. The Chinese gardens that used to cover the east end of Garden City. Right about the time Fort Boise was established, for the second time, in 1863 up against the Boise foothills, they needed a place to grow feed for the soldiers' horses. And they did that. They planted some hay on a plat of land southwest of the fort, right next to the river, what would eventually be called Government Island. It was also about that time gold was discovered in the Boise Basin, and in flooded prospectors from all over the place came to make it rich by either mining or outfitting the miners. By 1870, almost 30% of Idaho's population was Chinese. But the search for gold didn't last long, and in 1890, Thomas Davis, yes, from the same Julia Davis family, he bought 600 acres of Government Island and began leasing it to Chinese immigrants who were looking to do something else, like farm. One of those families who leased some of that Davis land was the Louis family. Andy Louis, who will be 93 years old next week, tells us more about how the Chinese put the garden in Garden City.
That's my grandfather. That's my family.
Andy Louis' link to Idaho.
Yeah, that's my dad.
Goes back 3 generations. That's you. Before him.
My great-grandfather came here to try to get rich, fun and gold.
But when that didn't happen, Andy's great-grandfather came down from the hills.
My great-grandfather moved down from Idaho City to the Boise area in the late 1800s.
Farming then became the family business on land that would eventually become Boise's North End.
Then my grandfather came over probably the early 1900s and took over the farming from my great-grandfather. Eventually, they moved down to Garden City.
Of course, it wasn't called that in those days.
So the garden, the name after my grandfather.
It was just known as the Chinese Gardens, a flat place near water where they could grow all kinds of produce,
the harvest of lettuce,
and sell it to the local grocery stores.
Looking back, actually, it was a good life. We worked hard, but didn't seem to have too much stress in life, you know. We took it as is.
Then by the spring of 1949,
we grew a lot of green onions.
Just before Andy arrived from China, Boise outlawed gambling. So, at the behest of local businessmen, the farmers were pushed out, and a village just across the river was incorporated to keep the gambling close by. They called it Garden City, a link to the area's past, a legacy Louis' family is still honored to be part of.
I think Garden City recognized that too.
In fact, the city named 2 days 12 years apart,
2010 is another proclamation,
as the Louis Family Recognition Day. So the Louis family is Garden City.
Oh yeah, we're pretty proud of that.
Andy, who says he moved here when he was a teenager, told us his family would farm another section of Garden City later on near Strawberry Glen from 1951 into the early 60s. Andy would join the military and then go on to school on a GI Bill to study pharmacology. Several of his nieces and nephews also went to school. They grew up working the Louis G family farm. They would become doctors and even a vice president for Albertsons, but all still very proud of their Garden City roots. As for Donna Kahn, who lived in Garden City for 76 years and was known for her love of her adopted city, her sense of humor, and for playing a mean harmonica, there will be a celebration of life for Donna this Saturday at the Whitney Friends Church in Boise, beginning at 4.